Hello and welcome to Learning in Technology. My name's Frank and I'm glad that you're here. So in this video, I'm going to do a quick little tour of my YouTube / remote teaching studio. And I've got a lot of equipment here, and part of that's because over the years I've been interested in photography. So I have a lot of existing equipment from before. So I have tripods and cameras and a lot of that gear. But there are a few little things that I've gotten that are really useful specifically for doing remote teaching, working with things like an iPhone mount. There's tons of equipment, and I'll put a list down below of a lot of that equipment. So I'll do a little bit of a tour for you. But I always wonder when people say, "Hey, can you show me? Can you show us your studio?" I always wonder if they really want to see my equipment or if they're really interested in all the stuff they see around me. So I have a lot of photos. For example, that's me and Stan Lee and me with Patrick Stewart from Star Trek. And I have a bunch of different pictures all over the place of various celebrity photos. Plus, I have a lot of books down here. This is a spare bedroom in my house. So this is hidden away in the basement, and it's this little spare bedroom that I've decided to turn into my office. And my office includes a lot of knickknacks. So I always wonder if people are really interested in the equipment or the knickknacks. Mostly I'm going to focus on the equipment. The knickknacks, if you have questions on, you can ask those in the comments below. I'm always happy to talk about my hobbies. Anyhow, so let's take a look at some of the things that are in my studio. So I have a downstairs area where I can come down and shoot videos in sort of these couches, and that's kind of a nice area to be able to film. And then I've opened up a green screen on the other side of that room where I can do some green screening. Then I also have a little office downstairs that's in a spare bedroom. It's a very small area, but I've used it previously as my study area. And then I have a bunch of books in there as well. I have a hobby. I like comic books, so I have a comic book collection. Some of it's in there. It's actually all over the place. But that's usually what catches people's eye when they see this little office. They see a bunch of my books and they see a bunch of my photos and art and all that sort of stuff. But then I actually have the studio, which is where I have my audiovisual equipment, where I have my computer set up. So I have an L-shaped desk where I have a couple of screens. So I have my laptop opened up, connected to an external monitor through an HDMI port, and then I have a number of stands where I can put additional laptop, my Wacom tablet for doing my Microsoft Whiteboard stuff. I have a video on that as well. And then I have a tripod with an external a regular camera pointing to me as a webcam. Have a video on how to do that as well. And then because I'm into photography, I've always been into photography, I have a second camera. So I have two cameras set up, which is a little bit unusual. So my Canon camera, I can plug directly into the USB and do remote shooting with that. And then for my Sony camera, it's a little bit of an older camera. So I have a CamLink 4K, which allows me to connect it and do remote shooting while still seeing the video. If you have a Sony 6300, 6500, 6700, the newer models of that particular Sony camera, then it actually will natively allow you to connect directly to your computer and do remote shooting. So that's a pretty nice feature there as well. I then have a number of little sort of small things that I have that are really make a substantial difference to me. One of the things I have is I have my blue microphone on a Rode microphone stand. So that allows me to get crisper and better audio for when I'm doing screencasting or doing remote teaching. I, of course, have all my video game stuff here as well. So if I need to take a break, that's very important. You got to make sure you take a break. I have stands that I use to hold my iPad, as well as a stand in front of my monitor, my second monitor, that holds my iPhone. And all of that is plugged into powered USB hub, so I can power my devices and I can keep them charging. With my camera, my main camera is an Canon EOS R camera, which is a mirrorless camera. I've put a 50mm lens on there, which shoots at 1.4 aperture. So that really gives me that nice blurred background behind me. And then added to that, instead of using batteries, I actually have a large USB charged Anchor power bank, which contains a lot of charge. It's enough to keep the camera going all day long. You can use that for remote shooting if you're doing time-lapse photography. And to make that work, I had to get a little adapter that is a battery replacement adapter. That's a handy device to have. All of that's very inexpensive, but what it means is that I don't have to have a power cord running from my camera, and I don't have to have the smaller batteries that have limited capacity. This battery has enough that I can do teaching for 20 hours in fact, and then overnight I just charge them. I have 2 of those Anchor batteries, and what I do is I just charge them overnight, and then I always have at least 2 fresh batteries, so I'm ready to go, and that gives me hours and hours of filming. Now, audio has always been an issue, and I've tried a number of things when it comes to audio off the camera, and I finally decided to bite the bullet. Instead of going with a wired solution, I now have wireless remote mics. I did have some attempts where I was syncing audio, so I had a remote recording device, which will still be useful if I'm going out into the field and doing stuff remotely where I'm walking around. That's still very handy, but for the remote audio on this camera, these little wireless mics are fantastic. So I have a lav mic here that I can wear, and that's connected wirelessly to the camera. And of course sits on a tripod. So lighting is also a big issue when it comes to filming these videos and when I'm teaching. And so I do have these fantastic LED lamps that I found. Very inexpensive on Amazon. And so I actually have 3 of the desktop ones, because I have one upstairs that I use for reading, and then I have 2 down here that I use in the studio. And then I had this floor model, which you see in the green screen room, and I've replaced that with a newer, so Newer is actually the name of the company, Neewar, and it's a LED panel that gives me 660 little LEDs and really lightens everything up, gives me that daytime look. Then in front of me I have a whiteboard, which I use, a traditional whiteboard, and I can post notes or ideas or script points on there so that I don't forget anything there. And then I have a lot of little knickknacks as well. One of the things that I really like are these SMALLRIG clamps with articulated arms and iPhone holders. So this means that if I want to do anything where I'm showing my hands, or I want to do anything where I want to mount the camera, they're not really as good for mounting the heavier Canon camera, but they're absolutely perfect for mounting the Sony camera, which I can then hook up, and I can put them at any angle I want. I can attach them to various different bookshelves or at the edge of my desk or whatever I'm doing, and those are extremely handy for doing different types of remote demos and such. Then of course there's lots of software, but I have many videos on that. But that's a rough look at my studio, get an idea of what I've got in here. If you have any questions, just let me know. A lot of that equipment is overkill. It's a bit much, but it is useful for me. So I do use it, and it's stuff that I had for photography before I began doing these YouTube videos. So some of it, if you're thinking of building your own little studio, would be probably a bit much, especially if you're starting out. I wouldn't recommend it. However, it's good, and if you like photography, or if you want to go for a little bit more higher end equipment with the camera, then it'd be good. What I think's really useful though are the little things that I mentioned. The little adapters and cables and clamps and those types of things, the lighting system, those are much more useful. So if you have any questions, just put them down in the comments, and I'll put down some links below. Those are affiliate links, so they do help out the channel if you purchase off that link. But certainly if you have any ideas of equipment that you're using that you didn't see within the video, let me know, because I'm always looking for little doodads and knickknacks to make things a little bit more effective, easy, and exciting. Thank you so much for watching. Here's some regular videos from this channel on how to use technology to teach. I hope you enjoyed the tour.